right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Bottom Rung Sports. I'm Jonathan.
It's your boy Pup here.
We got special guests for you guys. We got Trice. Hi, say what's up.
What's up? What's up?
And why don't you just tell us a little about yourself?
Yeah, cool. So I played for 4 years at a university up in Pennsylvania, NCAA Division III school called Clark Summit University. Like I said, was there from 2016 to 2020. I just graduated last year, but played 4 years over there. Soon as I graduated, senior year school year got cut short because of COVID. So, was at home and decided to start making YouTube videos and doing. I already had a YouTube channel, but I wanted to kind of up the quality. I had more time after basketball was over, so I started working on mainly documentaries and short films. And over the past year, it's really taken off, and I've had a lot of cool opportunities. So that's kind of how I spend my time now, is working on that stuff and still getting in the gym and working out and just trying to do all the different things that I love.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Not only is he a good hooper, people, he is really good at his documentaries. If you haven't checked it out already, I promise you will not be ashamed to check it out. It's very good stuff from him.
I appreciate it.
Yeah.
No
We'll put the link, of course, we'll put his YouTube link and his Instagram page in our bio. Like Pup said, it's honestly like got me like, low key shook. Like it's just really high quality, entertaining stuff for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll get into that later.
Yeah.
So what kind of inspired you to start playing basketball?
Oh, shoot. So I actually picked up the game a little later than most people. Like, I got it, my first year I played was like 7th grade. And I got into it. It was one of those things. I was like a football kid growing up. I loved football. I grew up in Arkansas and then went to school down in Texas. So football's big in the South, as everybody knows. And then I ended up playing basketball just for the fun of it, just because I had some friends that were playing, and immediately fell in love with it. I wasn't very good because it was my first year playing, but it was one of those things like that first, I'll never forget the first basket. And I was like, oh, I'm hooked. So that summer I really worked on it, and it got to the point where I was looking forward to basketball season more than football. And I dropped football the next year, focused all the way on basketball for the rest of high school. Ended up being fortunate to get an opportunity to play at the school up in Pennsylvania. The coach had been contacting me back and forth over emails and online stuff, and I was able to go up there and play. But what made me fall in love with it was just my favorite part about basketball, I tell this to everybody, is the fact that anybody can get good at it based on the work they put in. Like, there's obviously athleticism that separates certain positions or certain people from other things, but like, that's one of the few sports where you can really put the time in and you'll see the results. And I loved working on it, and I loved spending time in the gym. That's always been my favorite part of the game.
Definitely. Yeah. It's very relaxing just being in the gym by yourself and putting in the work. And
No doubt.
like you said, it does come with athleticism for some people, but there are those guys out there that it takes heart and desire and hard work to get where they are. And those are the kind of guys that you want on your team. Because they'll do anything, go for loose balls. They'll run through a wall for you. And that's how I played too. So I just relate to that a lot.
Right.
Well, if you look at Glenn Davis, Big Baby Davis, that man does not look athletic at all, but he was still an NBA player. And like, that takes, like you said, he probably put a lot of work into his craft to get there.
Yeah.
It helps being like 6'10".
It's true. It does.
Yeah.
That helps a little bit.
The man was still not he was more of a basketball shape rather than in basketball shape.
Right.
Oh,
But so did you get any other opportunity? Did you have any other opportunities to play in college, or was CSU like, you got this opportunity and you ran with it?
Well, I had a list. Like, I went to a smaller high school in Texas, so there wasn't, and Texas is a football state anyways, so basketball always kind of takes a back seat. But there's a lot of good universities in Texas. Like, literally, there was probably 5 or 6 within a 30-mile radius. I mean, there's a ton of schools in Texas, and a lot of Division 1 and 2 schools, a whole lot of Division 3 schools and JUCOs. I had a list of 5 schools that I narrowed it down to. The big thing for me was like coming from a smaller school, I knew that I was gonna have to go to the coaches. They weren't gonna be able to find me necessarily. So taking advantage of websites like NCSA, Be Recruited, like different recruiting agencies online, and filling out recruiting questionnaires on teams' websites and things. And my philosophy was I just want to go where I'm wanted the most. I've had a lot of friends and seen a lot of people who went to schools because they liked the school or whatever, and they ended up having a bad experience or not even finishing their time there because it just wasn't a great fit. So my philosophy was like, I want to go where I'm wanted the most. CSU showed me the most love all the way through. They, like, from the minute I got in contact with the coaching staff there, they were texting me once a week. They were encouraging me, and that was important for me. So that's why I ended up choosing them. But there was a few other schools.
What's up?
That's pretty dope.
Yeah.
So, what would you say to people that were like in your shoes and they're looking for colleges and they're not getting recruited well, but like besides D2, D3, what do you guys say to them just to keep going? Because they want the D1 goal, obviously, but just tell them about D3 and what it's all about.
Right, and I think there's a misconception about Division 3, about JUCO. I mean, what I've learned is there's hoopers at every level. Like, you will find dudes who will kill you on the court at every level. It does not matter what that number is behind the D1, D2, D3. Like, you're gonna meet some people who can play the game. And a lot of it is just some guys just don't have the same exposure as others, and that's what it is. A lot of D3 schools are higher quality institutions. I mean, a lot of D3 schools are private schools, so the academics is going to vary, but at the higher level D3 schools are some of the top academic schools in the country. So I mean, they have an advantage there, but as far as on the court goes, like, I've seen high D3 schools and good D3 players that can compete with D1 and D2 any day. I think it's a trap for a lot of kids to think D1 or bust because, one, I don't think people realize exactly how good you have to be to go D1. But two, I don't think people realize that there's so many other good opportunities other places.
Mm-hmm.
And even like my school I played against 3 different Division 1 schools while I was at a D3. Like, you still get the opportunity to play. Like, we went to Liberty and we played them, and Liberty was in the tournament later that year. Like, in their Division 1, like, you get to still get that atmosphere, still get those experiences. Just, it's more about going where you fit better and where you're going to get like the opportunities, because you don't, I guess it comes down to like, would you rather, get less time and be more of a practice player at a D1, or would you rather get time and get opportunities at a D3, D2, JUCO? Like, so everybody's got different values, but I only have a problem when people immediately dismiss anything below D1, because there's thousands of hoopers out there that would disagree with that. So
yeah, like, I played at a branch campus off of Penn State Beaver, and the guys there, they were pretty freaking good. Some of them.
No, I played against a few Penn State schools while I was at school.
Oh, word.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I played against a few Penn State schools. They had some good players.
Yeah, and like Beaver's not like the most known unless you're from like the county I'm in. So there's guys on there coming from like Texas and California. There was one coming from out of the country even. They were some really good talent. I'm like, damn, these guys should be playing at the next level. And some of them actually went on to play at like D2, D3 because they killed it right where they were. They made the most of the opportunity.
Yeah, and I've seen some guys go from D3 to overseas and have good careers. I had a guy that graduated the year before I got there that I still keep up with, and he's playing in Spain right now and he's killing it. I mean, there's good hoopers everywhere, and if you're good enough, like, they'll find a place for you. So
for sure.
Yeah.
So maybe, kind of getting away from basketball, start talking about YouTube. So why like YouTube? That might be a hard question or like a very vague question, but so after your career at CSU, what kind of gave you the push to continue and try to, make, like you said, make higher quality YouTube videos?
Well, yeah, I mean, YouTube was always like I touched on it like when we were talking before. Like I started the YouTube channel back in like 2011, so it was always kind of there. I just never really took it that seriously till I got to college, and even then didn't have that much time to put into it. So I always kind of knew like when I graduate, when I have more time, I'm gonna like put more effort into the YouTube channel and make videos more consistently. I didn't know that I was gonna go like the documentary short film route, but like it's been really fun. The big thing I think is YouTube is just the most accessible. Like it's it's probably the most well-known video sharing site by far. I can't think like Vimeo is like second most, but no one you don't go to on Vimeo to look up videos, you know what I'm saying? So like
Yeah.
YouTube is like the most accessible, and I tell people now like YouTube's never been the end goal for me, like especially working on these type of videos. Like I'm trying to work on bigger projects that go on networks or even free, even, there's so many opportunities now with you got Peacock, you've got YouTube TV, all these streaming sites that people subscribe to,
Oh, yeah.
Netflix, that people are putting out their own projects that they need people to produce. So that's the end goal, is to eventually get to stuff like that. And I've been fortunate to talk to a couple networks, and they have talked about pathways where I could eventually get opportunities and stuff thanks to the videos I've made. So it's all just a marathon. That's what I say for everything. That's what I say for basketball. That's what I say for this. Like it's just a marathon. It's, slow and steady wins the race. You just keep pushing, and eventually you get where you want to be if you put the work in.
For sure.
For sure. Any inspiring athletes or YouTubers, just take that into consideration. Nothing comes easy and nothing comes without hard work, no matter how much you want it to, no matter how much you guys can, like, I personally, this has been a long month of me, kind of wishing like things have gone differently, but, I'm still here continuing, to put in the work. And that's just like something you guys got to continue to do.
Right. And that's one thing I liked about like the transition from basketball into other parts of life, is like basketball taught me a lot of those lessons. Like when I first got to school, when I first got to my university, like I redshirted the first half of my first year. The coach told me like, look, you're gonna have to improve at this, and this, so you're not gonna see the floor for a while. And so there was times where I would travel with the team. We would get back at like midnight, and I'd ask for the keys to the gym. And I said, I'll lock up later. I'd be in the gym shooting on the gun, the Dr. Dish for a couple of hours, and then I'd lock up the gym. The security would be like, why are you still here? I mean, like it's one of those things where like if you want something bad enough, you're gonna work for it. And same thing goes with this.
For sure. And like coaches definitely recognize the hard work. Like perfect example for this, I went to a private school in my freshman through junior year of high school, and freshman year tried out for the basketball team, but I was like, screw this. I don't feel like running suicides. So like, I'm not going to do this. And then going into sophomore year, I took a look at the JV team and I was like, wow, I'm like better than half these kids. But I like I didn't show up to tryouts, I was too lazy to show up to tryouts, even though I still thought I was better. So I sent the JV coach an email saying, because I was like very friendly with him, saying like, hey, like, I think I'm better than half the team. Like, can I like, try out, very shot out and very arrogant. But the varsity coach literally set me aside and was like, who do you think you are? Like, you don't have the guts to show up to tryouts, yet you're saying, oh, you're better than these people, even though they had the guts and they had the work ethic to show up. And like, to me, that just sticks with me in the back of my head because, he was right. Like, and I kind of keep that with me going forward in life because, I can't just like get by with like barely enough. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yeah.
And I don't mean to ramble on, but
no, that's a good point. Shoot. I mean, like that's one thing that gets lost in our generation. I think a lot of times now is people kind of go with the mentality that like, look, if I don't get it right now, then I'm done with this. And that's why a lot of people transfer schools. Like I've seen a lot of people I played with a lot of guys in college that, you know, they didn't even make it to the end of the semester because they didn't get the playing time they wanted, so they bounced. And it's like a lot of those guys never ended up on another team because they just couldn't, they didn't stick it out anywhere. Like, and the same thing with people trying to get jobs or trying to work for something. Like, if you don't stick out through the hard times, you're probably not made for it. Bottom line, I mean.
Yeah, I mean, when I played, I was just my mentality was I want to work hard because I wasn't good at all until junior year, and it was just I was going to keep on working hard to get noticed, and then eventually my senior year, that's when I started to hit my stride, and it was because all the hard work was finally paying off. So I not only took that for basketball, I took that for school, took that for work, took that for anything I'm doing. I'm just going to work hard and get noticed, and no matter what, I'm gonna feel proud of myself because I was giving it my all. That's just how I go with everything. With this, with and like I said, work and everything, I just go hard all the time.
Right. I mean, that's awesome.
It's funny because like junior year of at that same school, I put in the work and, you know, played on the JV team. Like I practiced all off season. Like I was in the gym after hours, like, and, you know, I got my chance to play in front of some college scouts, like at a varsity practice. Didn't go so great, but I mean, it's just like, I don't know. It's just proof to me that like, if you put in the work, you know, you'll get rewarded.
Definitely.
Well, so what inspired you to, you know, start making documentaries?
I mean, I was always a big fan of documentaries. Like even when I was in high school and earlier than that, I remember watching the 30 for 30s, like the ESPN's 30 for 30s that they do, and I've always been a big fan of that, and I've always been a big movie guy. Like I love movies. I love going to the movies. Like I've always been a big film person. So, just the opportunity presented itself, especially, it was one of those things that kind of been in the back of my mind for a while that I wanted to do and just hadn't had the time because it takes a lot of time to write out a script and get a storyboard out and kind of set how you want to put something together, and it's like a month-long process, and so like you don't really have the time to put into that when you're a student athlete and things. But when I finally got the opportunity to in the free time to do it, and then the big thing that set it up for me was ESPN was doing The Last Dance, and they were having a lot of success with that. And even I think after I actually came up with the idea before the first episode even aired, there was 10 episodes. So I had like a nice 5-week window that I had to work on this. And I came up with the idea to do a post Last Dance documentary about Michael Jordan playing for the Wizards, and fleshed it out, put it together, ended up kind of emulating their style a little bit, and said, you know, released it the day that I promoted it on Twitter. That's the other thing I did. I promoted it on Twitter, especially underneath a lot of the tweets that ESPN was posting about their stuff. I would throw my thing underneath it. So like free publicity. And so I was doing that. And then when it dropped, it kind of just took off because people were looking for, you know, when people watch documentaries or anything, they're researching more about it later and when they're laying in bed at night, and my video would be there waiting for them. So it took off. It's about to hit 2 million views probably in the next month. So that's really cool. And but that was kind of like the first step for it. And I was like, oh, I really enjoyed this. I had a lot of people reach out. I had the producer of The Last Dance email me, and he said that he said he enjoyed it. And I was like, hey, can you hire me? And he was like, no. He was like, we don't have any spots, but like you can come in for an internship. And I was like, But like just stuff like that was encouraging. It was like, look, like you're on the right path. I look for that a lot in life. Like I look for signs. Anytime I get down or discouraged, I look for like stuff like that picks me up. It's like, look, you're on the right path. You know, there's a plan for you. So, it's cool for me to be able to do those things and tell stories. And that's probably my favorite part about it is telling the stories. Be able to make an audience feel something, make the viewer feel some type of way about what's happening, and help tell us player story. And eventually I hope to get to the point where I'm working with the athletes or working with whoever that the film is about or with, and helping them tell their story one-on-one. So that was the thought process behind it, why I got involved in it.
That's cool stuff. I like I said before, it's really good content that you're putting out there, and I hope that you do get to that point where you're getting all the names like in person and getting more views, and because it's really good, and I just can only imagine what the future will hold for you for that, and I really hope
for sure
that gets there. So what was your favorite one? I know you said Derrick Rose your favorite player. Was he your favorite one to do, or is there another one?
I think it's either Derrick Rose's or Kobe's. So I did one on Kobe back in January. I dropped it the day before the anniversary of his passing. So he passed 2020. I did it this year, 2021, the day before. So that was a heavy one to put together just because of all the emotions that were around that. And that was the first one that I really worked with like a composer, and me and him worked together, and he like literally wrote the music for the project from scratch to like mold around what I was trying to do. So that made it feel a little more official when you've got someone who's making music just for you. Yeah. And so that was really cool. But all of them have their own things that I like about them. But I would say my favorite's probably the Derrick Rose one, just because it's the newest one. It has like the most bells and whistles to it, you know, but also like it just meant so much to me because like he was one of the people that made me fall in love with basketball. I mean, a 7th grade, you know, kid from Texas that, you know, didn't know much about the game, but I was always a Bulls fan, and I had Derrick Rose's poster on my wall in my house, you know, and so like I remember the commercials of him spinning like the Addy Rose Zero, like the shoes on his finger and stuff. Like he was it. Well, he wasn't MVP. He was the man. So like, I wanted, but like the cool thing about that documentary is I didn't want to touch on any of that. Like I didn't want it to be about any of that. I wanted it to be about when he hit rock bottom, whenever he got traded from the Bulls. That's how it opens. It opens from him getting traded. Like I wanted to start it from the bottom of his journey and show how he's kind of like reestablished himself in the league. So being able to tell that unique story, one that people don't really think about much, and you know, I got to cover some cool moments, and I got to cover the 50-point game when he had on Halloween. Probably like one of the only times I've ever like shed a tear watching a basketball game. Like that was heavy. I was like, man, this dude's been through the mud, and he just did that, and so that was heavy. And then, but it was fun to tell that story, and then even to get to talk about the playoffs this year, like that just happened couple months ago, and to be able to put it in documentary form a couple months later was pretty sweet. So that was probably my favorite one to put together.
Yeah, that is good how you told that story, you know, like because like he said, when you think of Derrick Rose, they're thinking of before the injuries, but when all that crazy balance, all this and all that, never, you know, how he picked himself back up and now where he's at right now, and he's doing really well for himself, and that's a cool way to do that story right there for sure.
Definitely.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say he just signed a big contract like with the Knicks. Yeah. Like he's doing good for himself.
I think the thing that pisses me off the most about like, you know, any injured player that's like out for a while and comes back, especially like one like Derrick Rose, is like you'll see on Instagram like how's the highlights, or like, you know, any you know, any highlight sort of like Instagram page, they'll be like, oh, flashes of the old D Rose, or like, and like that's what gets me heated. It's because like, you know, he never lost that. Like that's always been there. All he just got hurt. Like that doesn't mean like, of course he's gonna lose bounce with that kind of injury, but the skill and the craftsmanship and his mentality, his IQ is still all there.
Right. And the thing I respect the most about D Rose is the way that he evolved his game. Like he like, you know how many, like he's literally had 2 different careers in one. Like most guys, when they get to the league, like once their athleticism's gone, they don't have anything left. He literally turned himself into a skill player like that, like developed his shooting. He was like a 20% shooter when he was with the Knicks the first time. This past year, he shot like 38. Like, man, that man took his game and just totally rebuilt it. And like that, you know how much hard work that takes? Like, and he's one of those guys, and he's not even one of those guys who posts himself in the gym a lot. Like he's pretty low key about how he works, but he has to be a hard worker, man, to be able to fight back from that and establish himself again the way he has is crazy.
It's actually crazy that he said like 2 different careers in one, because I've never heard that before.
Yeah, that
and like that's like
smart.
just a perfect way to sum it up.
It is.
Right.
Because like now you see him going like, you know, this is an outdated term, jelly. Like he has so much finesse in his layups because like he still has that explosiveness, but he just added in, you know, instead of dunking on it, he'll go with the reverse or like the and ones, like
just keep
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays the mid-range game a lot more now, and he really, really plays the floaters. That was his big thing in the playoffs this year. He was looking for the floaters a lot. And, I mean, like, it just props to him for getting buckets however he can. I mean, like, he literally exposes whatever the defense gives him. So, like, I love watching him even to this day. Like, it's not as exciting. Like, you're not sitting there thinking, oh, is he about to dunk on somebody? But, like, it's a different kind of cool to watch now. It's especially cool knowing what he went through, that like he's doing it now is like my favorite part of watching him.
That's dope. Yeah.
So kind of getting back to YouTube, are there any, you know, content creators that really inspire you and that are like, yeah, I want to be like him someday?
There was initially, like when I first got started, especially with the voiceover stuff, Devin Williams, who does the In the Lab videos, he was my number one inspiration. Like if you watch some of the earlier videos where I would talk, I like almost 1-for-1 copied his flow and like his like beat choices. I used the same beats. Like I was really trying to like emulate his style because the 10,000 hour videos inspired me as a hooper. Like when I was like freshman, sophomore year of high school, like those I would watch those every day to like motivate me to work out. Like I mean that dude is what probably got me started in like wanting to edit and wanting to do videos. And then I have like, if you go to my YouTube channel, I have a series, I think there's like 3 parts to it of a 10,000 hours type video just about me. And I had a friend that did camera work and we almost tried to copy it, tried to do it that way too. And that was a lot of fun. So it's like, I mean, he's probably one that for sure inspired me. Now I've kind of got away a little bit from what the kind of stuff he does now, as far as like, because he doesn't. I say that. I mean, the 10,000 hour videos are kind of documentaries themselves. So I mean, maybe we're still on the same page. I would love to definitely. I've talked to him a few times. I actually talked to him this summer. I was supposed to help them work on a couple projects, and it just never worked out. So I'd like to. I don't know if it was actually him I was talking to, but someone from his camp I was in communication with. So I'd like to get that back going. I have to reach out to them again. But you know, it's one of those things where I talked to him a couple times. He's a nice guy. I actually won a pair of shoes from him one time because I won like a contest. Like I answered a question or something first. So, but I mean, I would love to actually have a conversation with him and pick his brain a little bit and work with him eventually. That'd be cool. But he's the only one I can think of that's a real inspiration as far as like that I ever tried to copy, but he's the biggest one for sure.
What about you, Pup?
What about like in just YouTube or
like
general?
when we started this, who do you think inspired you?
Not really much. It was more just I was like catching other like Pittsburgh podcasters doing it more and more. And I was following along with them, and I was thinking about doing it. Then you hit me saying, "Oh, do we want to start this?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's get it going." And so I was just catching a vibe with them and learning from them, how to get everything working. And that's really how I've modeled myself after just all of them. Mm-hmm. About you?
He's not a podcaster, but you know, I got to go with my man Devonte Friga, because I watched that dude, you know, like Trice says, when he was in the mud, like he was back at Mountain Union playing D3 and had like, you know, maybe 5K subs.
Yeah.
And I just found his shit like so fascinating. Like, you know, he would do day in the lives. I would always watch those. Like, but it really inspired me to like, you know, we've said this a million times, but like work hard, because like look where he's at now.
Yep.
Well, the crazy thing about Friga is, so when I did that video, when I did my first video about like, it was actually like called like a day in the life of an NCAA athlete, and I never thought to put D3 on there because like I always thought that no one would want to see stuff about D3, but looking at it now, that's what made him take off because people don't really think about D3, so they were like, but what the crazy thing is, he actually messaged me back when I first did that because that came out before he started doing his stuff. That was back. I would have been that would have been like 2017, something 2000. Yeah, it was like 2017. And he actually reached out and like asked for like some advice on how to get more followers and stuff as an athlete, and I didn't think anything about it. And I think like couple years later, I saw he was everywhere, and I was like, wow, like good for him. He took off.
Yeah, he did.
But this will be the last question for you, but it's
Okay.
a big one. So we all know, or we've learned, you seem like a very big student of the NBA. Like you
Okay.
seem to absorb a lot of information about it and retain it, which to me is very impressive. So you got 5 seconds left on the clock. Game 7 NBA championship. Who's taking your shot?
Oh man. 5 seconds left. I think I'll go Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant's taking it.
Okay.
Like, part of me wants to say Lillard. Like, he'd be my second choice, but I gotta take Durant. Mainly because like the dude's he's got ice water. Like you saw the shot that he hit in the playoffs this year. Like like this close from the Bucks not winning a championship. I mean, like that dude is a cold-blooded killer. And actually, my next video I'm doing is about Kevin Durant and how he became the villain of the NBA. So it's gonna be a lot of fun to look at that. But I've always had so much respect for his game. Just like the fact that he's just an absolute, like we talk about unicorns a lot. Like people talk about unicorns a lot in basketball, but like that dude is like a mythical creature on the court. Like you talking about a 7-foot player that can dribble, shoot, defend. Like you're not messing with him. But yeah, game 7, 5 seconds later on the clock, I'm giving him the ball, letting him go ISO because you're not stopping him from getting a shot. He's just whether he makes it or not. Like, so I'm taking him.
What about you?
You know my answer. It's LeBron.
All right.
That's just who.
Okay.
That's been my guy.
You can't hate that. LeBron's had his share of game winners.
That's just been my guy since I was like 10. I've always followed them. So.
Well, you said you're from Pittsburgh, right? So that's not too far from Cleveland.
Yep. Yeah. Oh yeah, I've just been a fan of his for so long. I can't turn my back on him, even though this guy doesn't agree with me.
Who is your guy?
My guy, man, that's like the crazy part. I don't really have a guy right now. Well, I've been very high on Tyler Hero and LaMelo Ball. But I would say my guy taking the shot is definitely Damian Lillard.
Okay.
I respect that.
I mean, I would say that's a good one. It's funny you say LaMelo Ball. I love LaMelo's game. I really do. Like I love LaMelo's game. Actually, that's one of the short films I just did this summer was about LaMelo Ball. And
I think that, yeah.
It was fun to dive into his stuff because I've been making videos about LaMelo and his brothers since like they were in high school. So like it's so cool to see how he's literally went from high school like phenom, like everybody was. I remember when he played Zion in Las Vegas and the gym was packed and it was high school and stuff. And then like to see him like rookie of the year, like killing it in the NBA, that's such like mind blow.
Yeah, that's your guy right there, LaMelo. Yeah,
LaMelo's sweet. Yeah, I love the way he plays.
Yeah, me too. He's got a lot of he has that confidence, but in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's just he's different.
He's just him.
Yeah,
that's the best way to put it. He's just LaMelo.
Yeah,
right.
But pretty much talked about everything. Well, not everything, which is why I want to do a part 2 of this because I want you to come back, and we want to talk to you again.
Okay, yeah, I'm down for whatever, man.
But yeah, like I said, thank you again for coming out here and talking to us. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, really appreciate it.
Hey, man, that's no problem. When y'all reached out, I thought it'd be cool to get to talk to y'all. So,
And
no issues.
listen, this dude's link to his YouTube and his Instagram will be in the bio. And make sure you guys stay tuned for his up and coming video. We'll be sure to post it on our Instagram.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this has been another episode of Bottom Rung Sports. As always, like and subscribe.
Yes, sir.